Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? Welcome back for part 2 with hunter, fisherman, conservationist, small business owner extraordinaire, Brandon Dahms. If you missed
Appreciate
part
you having me. Oh, sorry.
right.
Let's start that over.
Yeah, let's try that one again. Hey, I'm glad you're willing to come back on. So, if you missed part 1 of Brandon's episode, man, go back and listen to it. It was very good, very encouraging, a little bit educational there, but we also had some fun. I mean, this guy, like I said, he's small business entrepreneur. He's into hunting and conservation. He's a family man, like most of my audience, man and woman. Sorry. I do look at the analytics. I understand it's about 50-50 male and female. So, but he's a family man as well. And if you really want to find out how he became the certified squirrel whisperer of Eastern Iowa, it's in there. You got to go back to part 1 to find that one out. This week, we're going to get into his segments. We're going to have some fun, but we're going to get a little serious at the end. So if you like that kind of conversation, if you're like me and you think critical thinking and conversation and debate of idea needs to make a roaring comeback these days, but when it's done the right way, you're going to hear that at the end of this episode for sure. So definitely stick around for that. You will not hear any paid ads interrupting this episode whatsoever. That's what sets me apart from all the big podcasts. No paid ads whatsoever. But I do want to give a couple quick shout outs to some people who deserve it. If you're in Northeast Iowa and art is your thing, if you're passionate about art, I want to encourage you to go check out the Steve Brown Art Center in Jessup, Iowa. They are the creative heart of Buchanan County. It is a thriving community where art flourishes. With dynamic exhibits and interactive workshops, they spark creativity and passion. Discover a world of artistic inspiration at the Steve Brown Art Center. You can tell that was written by one of the guys over there, Jim Gillespie. He writes this ad for me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll read it. I'm not above anything, man. You take
Yeah,
time to write a nice little ad about your organization, I'll read it for sure. Anyway,
absolutely.
check them out on Facebook to find out what they're all about. But now, if you're in the market for sprucing up that home or cabin of yours with some amazing yet affordable artwork, there's only one place I'm going to recommend you to go, and it's where I've bought art in the past, TonyThomasArt.com. You'll fall in love with my buddy, former podcast guest and gifted artist, Tony Thomas. You'll love the stuff he creates. We wouldn't recommend it otherwise unless we have purchased some of his work ourselves, okay? Whether you like the Southern Staples drop that he did, that's all about sweet tea, lemonade, and biscuits, or the Bayou scenery thing, or wildlife prints, or wood ducks, or mallard drakes, this guy does anything. You like biblical prints, he's doing scenes like that are meant to get a reaction out of you, touch something inside. So check out TonyThomasArt.com. You won't be disappointed. Now that we got that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy the best new podcast on the markets. All right, Brandon, you ready to get into your segments?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, you chose Stop Complaining and Do Something. All right, that's my segment where you have a youth group and every teenager in the country is in that youth group. So instead of us older generation calling the younger generation a bunch of, names and putting them down, well, now you got their attention. What's your message to them? How are you going to build into them?
I think it's very relatable with my mindset that I've taken part in both the small business advocacy, the Iowa Sportsman's Club, Trophy Bucks of Iowa. I believe that if you have an opinion, which most people do, and you want it to be taken seriously, you need to show that that is an important area of your life. And instead of just complaining, a lot of times when you're just complaining about something, all that does is bring down the area around you. And a lot of times people will slowly congregate away from that type of person.
Yep.
And I think that there's a really uplifting and self-growth that you can have where if you surround yourself with people that instead of just complaining about something that you see where you want to go or you see what's wrong and you see a way to fix it, you take the time yourself, do what's needed, make the change, be consistent on your message, and others around you will start to take note and you'll actually really be able to see what you were once complaining about changing in the direction that you want it to go.
I like it. I like it. Who would have known Mr. Entrepreneur here has a vision mindset? Yeah, I love it. I love it. Real world practical stuff right there. So Gen Z, if you're listening, we had a sweep through the high school up here at Wapsie Valley, and we got a lot of younger fans and followers. But I learned just because they follow you on social media doesn't mean they listen to your podcast. Because I watch the numbers on both. I'm like, okay, all these young kids are following us. Well, how come my views didn't go up, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And back to that same topic, I get people all the time complaining about stuff on Snapchat, and I'm very concerned. And even with really close friends of mine, they want to come and sometimes you just want to they want a shoulder to cry on, and they come to me because they know, okay, well, what have you done to change that
yeah,
outcome?
yeah,
What are you doing to better the situation? Let's make a plan and get through it. And some
yeah.
people don't want to hear it. They don't want to
No.
take the time. They just want to complain.
Yep. Yep. Because that's
Um,
the easy thing.
that's the easy thing. Let's
Just
not do
complain.
that. Let's make a change. So,
Right. Right.
so for everybody that complains, if you come to me and complain, just know there's going to be a plan in place to make it better.
I like it. I like it. What my football coach used to say? He basically, if you complained about something or you basically backtalked, he'd say, "Go tell it to the excuse pole," which was way at the other end of the field. Just didn't want to
Yep.
hear it. Don't
Yep.
complain. That's it. So you learn that lesson real quick. I like it. That's good. All right, let's do job rundown. Can you list every job you've had from when you started working, whether that was as a kid all the way to present day? Is that a
Yeah.
long list? Go ahead. Go for
No,
it.
not that long of a list because I've had the same job since I graduated college. So,
Okay.
but so early in life, I volunteered. Our family church had a little like a donations craft store, so I would help work at that. And then I tasseled corn, like most Midwestern kids probably have
That's a
done, or
rite of
many of them.
passage.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then I worked at Hy-Vee in high school
Okay.
out of Galesburg, Illinois. And then when I was in college, I worked for the university directing an outdoor program. So I would take people to Maquoketa Caves, or I'd help with intramural sports.
Wow, that
Um,
sounds like a tough one right
it
there.
was a good one. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a sacrifice, but I was willing to do it. And then when I came back from Australia, I served and bartended at a Italian restaurant in Des Moines called Bravo while I was
Okay.
going to college. Another job that I feel like every youth should do is be a server at a restaurant, both small town and big city. It
Yeah.
helps people skills, it helps public speaking. It's a good job. And then from that, when I graduated college, I started as an employee at the company that I'm still working at now, 16 years later,
Yeah.
and part owner.
Wow. Yeah,
So
that's a
it's a
good one.
fairly short list, but I've thoroughly enjoyed almost, except for detasseling. I won't say I enjoyed it. It built a good work ethic, but
Yeah.
I'll say I've enjoyed every job I've had.
Man, and let me tell you, I don't know if you paid attention to it, but now I've had a couple kids detassel for the same crew that was around my area that everyone had to be on when I was a kid. It's changed. It's no longer
Yeah.
like 12, 13-hour days out. Like you start early, you're done early. You do a lot of riding on machines. You don't do any full pull anymore. You
Oh,
never
wow.
touch a field that hasn't been gone through already. It's a little easier, but so I want to go back to the restaurant thing for a minute because it scared me how naive I was about this. I want to say it was for like me and my wife's 15th anniversary or something like that. We went to a restaurant and it had a help wanted sign right on the door. And it said, you could tell it was like entry level stuff. It was stuff you would think high schoolers would be doing. And it said right on there, must be 16 or older, must be able to follow instructions. And so we walk in and sit down, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I told my wife, I said, why would they put that on a help wanted sign? Must be able to follow instructions. Like, if you're looking for a job, you're going to want instruction. And my wife at the time was running a kitchen at our assisted living. And she said, there's younger people today who cannot take instruction. They like get offended, or they can't, like you said, can't make eye contact, can't communicate. If they don't understand, they won't tell you because for some reason they've just lost that communication skill.
Yep.
And that was a while ago. That was probably 10 years ago. I can't remember. It was a while ago. And so I was shocked that their skills, whether it's social or communication, have dropped like that. It's not all of them, obviously, but that has become an issue where they need to say, if you're going to work here, you need to be able to follow instruction. I'm like, that's common sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Please tell
Which
me
is
how to
not
do my
which
job.
is not so common these days.
Wow, man. Yeah, that was wild. That was wild. Okay.
Yeah, and it's only gotten worse since COVID. I mean,
Well, yeah. Yep.
kids that took year off of school and didn't engage. My wife's a teacher in the Des Moines public schools,
Okay.
so we see it firsthand. It's
Yep.
not going in the right direction.
No, no. Yeah, and we've seen a little bit of a shift where I guess we don't got to go down the rabbit hole, but you've seen a shift where probably, when I was younger, when you were younger, homeschooling was like kind of a minority thing and people kind of looked at it a little weird. And then you saw this, I mean, it has shifted away to where like you find out, no, more and more people are doing it, whether it's a co-op or they're doing it the old traditional way, and they're coming out just fine, just
Yeah.
fine, sometimes even above. I know a couple other entrepreneurs on social media. He was homeschooled and he's all about business and getting people to have the least amount of time at work, the most amount of time with family, but yet he can do that because his time is so valuable because of the way he's built his business.
Yep.
And he wants to help other people do that. And I'm just like, and this dude had no public education. And I'm just like, okay, well, yeah, it's definitely changed for sure. So, okay, let's keep going here. I think only one person has picked this segment. Snitch on yourself. So this is your chance to come clean about something you've done in the past.
Man, I'll say growing up, I would consider myself the good kid growing
Okay.
up. I was always, I would get snitched on where not, even if I wasn't involved, if kids wanted to do something and they were off and their parents told them no, they'd say, well, but Brandon's going to be there. And they're like, oh, well, if Brandon's going to be there, you could be there.
It's
So
okay.
I would always like to think that growing up, I always was very conscientious of how not so much from like a status standpoint, but I was aware of how I presented myself. So
Yep.
I never wanted to be the one getting in trouble. But there is a funny story about the small town I grew up in. There was a lake behind our house, probably like 10 acres, and 100 yards around the entire lake was surrounded by cattails, and there was no accessible spot to this lake. So people that could fish it would always just push a boat through and fish it. And one year I saw there was a dentist that lived on the lake, and he was burning a small section of the cattails behind his house to open up a fishing area. I was like, well, what a genius idea. I'm going to come out here and
Oh
burn a
no.
spot.
Oh no.
And no houses were right on the water. They were far away. But I went out there. One, I wasn't into hunting yet, so I didn't know about controlled burns or wind direction like
Back
that. So
burn me.
it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I mean this lake is, I'll say a half mile long by a few hundred yards wide, like a big oval. I lit up these cattails about 9 o'clock at night, and it just went up and it got out of hand in a hurry. So I was on my bike and I drove all the way to our downtown of our town, which is like 4 blocks away. And you could just see this giant glowing aura off in the distance. There was fire departments from everywhere called,
Wow.
and it was the talk of all the surrounding towns. And to this day, now some people will probably find out, but no one ever knew that I was the one that burned these cattails down. And the next day, there was not a cattail standing around that entire lake. Every single cattail went up. It
Wow.
was on the news. The Quad Cities talked about it. Everything. So that'd probably be my the
Wow.
snitch on myself
Wow, that's a big
story.
one. That
Yeah,
is a big one.
yeah.
Dang. How close was it to the dentist guy burning his? Was it the same
Uh,
day or were
oh,
you
it was
able?
that night. It was that night.
Okay.
I got the idea, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this.
Did you try to do? I mean, so well, if no one knew, if you never came clean about it, I mean, that guy probably thought maybe, or did you start?
Well, there was kids all over the place.
Okay.
So it's not like he was like, oh, I engaged with Brandon on that day. And again, I was the kid that never got in trouble, so
And no one looked at you.
I was on nobody's radar for the
He
guy
was
that.
untouchable.
And but I will say the fishing was phenomenal after that. I could access anywhere on the lake, so it was,
I'm
you
sorry
know,
I did it. My
yeah.
bad, but the fishing was good.
I'm sorry, not sorry. I didn't. I felt bad inconveniencing people and having so much attention drawn onto it. But hey, the fishing was great, so
I hope
nobody got
some
hurt. Yeah.
I hope somebody's watching this right now and they're like, that was him? Oh my goodness. I mean,
Yep.
I can somewhat relate. I mean, how old were you then?
I would have been in eighth grade that year,
Okay.
so yeah, with 13 or something like
Okay.
that.
I was out of high school and I worked for a grain dryer repairman and he had a bunch of CRP and different things, and we were doing the yearly or every other year or whatever burn off, and we had a break dug out or whatever, and my job was just go along the break, and as it tries to creep across, just take your rake and whatever little water you had and keep it out. It didn't work out. The head of the rake fell off, and so I started just using my feet, and I thought I could keep up with it, and I didn't. And once it jumped across the other side, man, I mean, it went. I want to say it was like, I don't know, it was whatever, just grass, prairie grass and stuff, and it went so fast and so high. He didn't invite me back for a couple
Yeah.
years to help with that.
That's
So
a scary feeling.
it
That's a scary
is.
feeling.
It
Yeah.
is. There's no stopping it once it goes like that. Not that prairie grass anyway. So
Yeah.
there, I didn't want to put you out on an island all by yourself.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Let's do the getting to know you segment. You picked out some questions for this one. It's really good, but something we probably should have done in the first part of your episode was show everybody, the different things in your basement there, that
Yeah.
the trophies and stuff, and maybe pick out one to tell us a little bit about a special hunt.
Yeah. Well, we'll just start. I'm a sports guy, obviously we talked about. So
Yeah.
we kind of a house divided. My wife's a big Iowa State fan. I'm a Hawkeye fan. So
Yeah.
I've got my Hawkeye stuff. I'm a big
Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal
Yeah.
fan. So there's Shaq jerseys. And then golf's important in my life. So there's tournaments that I've been to or
All right.
had flags signed. And so here is this is one of the archery bucks I just got. Oh, this was 3 seasons ago, and
Nice.
specifically was targeting that deer that year. This was my very first ever landowner buck tag that I filled. There's a muskie that I caught. Gosh, gotta be 10 years ago up at Lake Vermilion, and then just a handful of other bucks that I've taken. Except that one right there in the corner is my wife's first ever deer.
All right.
So that was a memorable one. And then my first antelope with my Chicago Bears necklace on it that my daughter put on. And then that top one, far corner, is the first buck that I ever killed.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So that's my basement.
Well, that's the way to kick off the getting to know you segment. No one else has ever done that, but I said, hey, this guy's recording on his phone. Let's really get to know him, right? Show us some of those trophies. That's good stuff. I like it. Who do you recommend down there for mounts for taxidermy?
Dylan Crawl is who I use. DK Taxidermy.
Okay.
So DK Customs.
Okay. And then we've gone back and forth on Snapchat a little bit about lockers. What's your favorite lockers for different things?
So it totally depends on what there's certain lockers that I use. So like deer sticks, my absolute favorite deer sticks is down in Bedford, Iowa, a locker called Zeb's.
Yep. Okay.
And then we get burger patties if I'm just getting the deer ground or burger patties made. I go to Milo, which is just south of Des Moines. And then if I get brats and deer bacon made, Edgewood is my only option. So
there
Edgewood
we
is
go.
hands down my favorite brats. So that's all the different places that we take them.
I like it. I'm with you. That's been going to Edgewood for a lot of years now. So right. I just stick with them. That's it.
They're good.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Pet peeves. We're really going to get to know you now. What's your pet peeves? You got any?
Honestly, I have 2 big pet peeves. Not having situational awareness when people are just completely unaware of their surroundings and their actions, and they have no idea of how it's impacting others, or the common sense or situational awareness. That's I always tell employees when we're interviewing and we know it's going to the next stage, if you just have situational awareness, common sense, and decency, you will do just fine around us. And then my other pet peeve is negativity. I just hate when people are always being negative about stuff. We all have things in our lives that we can be happy about. If you don't, reach out and talk to us. We'll find something to make you happy about. But there's, I talked about earlier, I was called a serial entrepreneur or a serial optimist.
Yep.
And it's probably because I just don't like focusing on the negativity of things. It just brings things down. It doesn't make you want to get better. So that would hands down be my biggest pet peeve, is people that are always negative.
Absolutely. It's the comparison between, the Bible talks about like worry and concern. We're not supposed to worry about anything. Worry is like being negative. It's going to do nothing but bring you down. Being
Yep.
concerned or being positive, those are both like proactive, like it's going to move you to action in a good way.
Yep.
So, definitely.
Absolutely.
I agree with
And
that.
there's one other pet peeve that I guess I can mention is driving slow in the left lane. I
Oh,
despise when people just camp in the left lane the whole time. Not that I'm the fastest driver, but I they have no situational awareness to me, or they just don't care. One or the other. But
it,
if you drive in the left lane, I am not sorry. You are get over.
even and there's no excuse. I get it. Sometimes you go for a pass and maybe the other person, the semi, all of a sudden you start going down hills. It doesn't matter. Then you are responsible to give it more gas and pass. The left lane is
Yes.
passing only. Get
Yes.
get your job done and get back over. I'm with you. That's good. We don't need to alienate any of our listeners farther on that one. Okay. What
Yep.
would you do if you had $1 billion?
If I had $1 billion, I don't think my life of things that I do would change a whole lot. My goal in life is to, I call it the 1%. I have 1% mentality, and it comes off as I don't do these things to then share, hey, look at me, look what I get to do. But when I say the 1%, I want to do things that less than 1% of people that you'll talk to have ever even known that was something they could do. Like go to Southwest Wyoming and fossil hunt. I get to go to Hawaii at the end of this month hunting axis deer on Malachi. So when I look at things or situations, being in the Capitol talking with senators, I took that on because it's like, if you talk to 99 other people, how many of them get to actually make a difference?
Yeah.
So it's not, hey, look at what I've done. It's more or less, I want to when I retire, I want to say, hey, what should we try? I want to know what can I do again?
Do
Yeah.
more of what you're already doing, more adventure, more.
Yeah, but then I would say I would donate a lot of the
Sure.
money, just expand my footprint of organizations. I would invest so my
Mhm.
kids and my kids' kids and my great 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 grandkids wouldn't have to worry about money, but the rest, other people would reap the reward because
Sure.
I wouldn't need it.
Yeah, right. You only need so much. I get that. Is it
Yeah.
Shaq? It might not be Shaq, but for some reason I'm thinking it's Shaq. He set something up where his kids, they have to have two college degrees before they get access to their inheritance or something like. I'm starting to think it ain't Shaq, but
I can
somebody
absolutely appreciate somebody that would
sure
have that mindset.
put some sort of guidepost on it or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I like it. Okay, let's go to one that's it's definitely gonna our roads are gonna come together or they're gonna part here. Christmas music, yes or no?
No.
Ah, so what? How do you not want to be in the Christmas spirit
You
at
know,
the time?
I am literally called Scrooge all the time. When it comes,
But
Thanksgiving,
you're the eternal optimist. How can
I
you?
know. I love. Hey, I don't know what it is. When Thanksgiving crosses over and the radio becomes Christmas music, I am on iHeartRadio all the time after that because I am a Scrooge with Christmas music.
Wow.
My Everyone else around me absolutely loves it, and I love that they love it. I'm not a Christmas music person at all, and I know
Not
I'm
your thing.
the minority of that decision or that, but I just can't get into it. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
think it's 50-50 from the people I talk to.
Yeah.
Some people hate it. Some people are like me and they love it. And then other people are kind of take it or leave it. It's literally down the middle. So
Yeah.
you got a
The
lot of
only
people.
possible way that I like Christmas music is if it's my daughter singing it at a school recital. Then I'll rock out to some
Oh,
Christmas music.
you got
But
years of those coming. So we're going to check back in with Brandon Dahms 5 years from now after 5 Christmas programs, and we're going to see what he says. I bet you
all
he'll
right.
change his tune. Okay. So we goes from something real joyful like Christmas to something real morbid. If you're on death row, you get one final meal. What are you choosing?
Hmm. One meal. I mean, I'd choose a lot of things, but if I could only choose one thing, it would probably be biscuits and gravy.
All right.
I love biscuits and gravy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, biscuits and gravy or Ohana Steakhouse scallops. Their
Oh
scallops are my
yeah.
favorite scallops.
You're into that weird food too as well. That's
Scallops,
cool.
yeah. So I'm a dessert guy too. So you can always have a dessert on your last meal. So Whitey's ice cream. I'd go to the Quad Cities and get my Whitey's ice cream, and
You
that's
should
what I'd
be
have.
You should be paid for as much advertising as you do for that Whitey's or
Yes.
Jethro's or wherever your favorite spots or the truck stop, the I-80 truck stop every
Yeah.
single time, man. Or royalties from the pop machine that's still out
You
there.
know how many snaps I get a week of people stopping at that pop machine in Dixon?
It's
It's
only a thing
phenomenal.
because you do it, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm telling you. All right. Okay, let's do this one. I think you already hinted to a couple of them, but favorite sports teams and athletes.
So Shaquille O'Neal and Tiger Woods are probably my
Yeah.
two two favorite athletes growing up. The Lakers was I'm not an NBA fan now so much because it's just I don't know I didn't follow it much over the last few years. So the Cubs, Chicago Cubs,
Yeah.
Chicago Bears, the Chicago Blackhawks. Those are all
Okay.
my favorite pro teams, and then I'm a Iowa Hawkeye fan through and through.
Yes,
I
sir.
used to I used to not cheer for Iowa State since I've graduated from there, and my wife is a diehard. I cheer for all teams in Iowa. So Drake, UNI, Iowa State. But when they're playing Iowa, go Hawkeyes.
There you go. Yeah, I was going to mention when you said something about what were we talking about in part one? Shoot, here it comes
So where I
again.
was wearing my Hawkeye shirt at class
No,
at Iowa
no, it
State.
was basketball.
Oh yeah.
You said in part one you're a basketball guy, and I'm always trying to drop little hints about who I got coming up and stuff like that. My son Timothy recommended this UNI women's basketball player that just graduated, and I was like, I'll reach out to anybody. I'm not, it's not beneath me. So I did, and she responded, Maya McDermott. I think she won a state championship for
Oh
Johnson
nice.
like
Yeah.
4 years ago, and she come up here and she played like 5 years for University of Northern Iowa. And yeah, she's going to be coming on here shortly. So
That's
doing an
awesome.
episode with her, that'll be a good one. Okay. Let's keep moving with your stuff though. Near death experience or most dangerous. If you don't have a near death, it's what's the hairiest situation you've been in?
I actually have a one that I probably shouldn't have walked away from. That
Okay.
friend of mine and I went shed hunting. This happened the week my daughter arrived 6 years ago. We're shed hunting local area around Des Moines, and there was a an island that's on the river that normally we would just walk over and just shed hunt this island, and we'd find a lot of antlers. It was a really good spot, and it had warmed up a little bit, so there was some overflow. So it looked like it was only about 3 or 4 inches deep, a lot of sediment, and then so
Hmm.
we took our boots off because I didn't have my muck boots on. So we took them off, rolled our pants up, we shimmied across the Raccoon River, shed hunted, found a few sheds, and we're shimmy across back. And I'm just having my conversation. Lee was my friend that was with me. And without warning, the bottom just fell out from underneath me and I dropped. And it turns out we were over a fast flowing deep part of the river and I was on the ice shelf. And luckily, I put my arms out and it caught the sediment because there was about 4 inches worth of sediment. And this like vortex started from all that overflow and it was like pulling me sideways into this hole. And I'd have been gone,
Ooh.
obviously it was, and miraculously, I was able to dig into that sediment, pull myself up out. Lee was already off on the shoreline. I think he was getting ready to call in what he thought I had gone under.
Wow.
And yeah, it happens 99 more times. I'd say the majority of them, I don't walk away from that situation, but I
Yeah.
did. So
Yeah, you go under ice with flowing water. Yeah. Wow. That that
yeah,
is that fits the bill right there.
yeah. So that was a scary day.
Wow. Okay, makes you grateful. Makes you grateful
Yeah,
for what you
I
got.
no
I can
longer, I
see
know,
Mr. Eternal Optimist. I can see why
yeah,
with that story.
I no longer shed hunt islands around rivers either. So I lesson learned.
Yeah. Oh, you do. I'm sure you do pretty well everywhere else. So, okay.
Yeah.
Number one problem we face today, in your opinion.
The inability to communicate. There are such polar opposite opinions now, and social media is a major driving factor of
Sure.
this.
Sure.
I think if everybody was face to face, it wouldn't be as polarizing. But
Yep.
it's a lot. People are a lot braver and get more opinionated via their thumbs on the phone or on a
Sure.
keyboard, and they don't think about those repercussions. And I think they're getting such strong opinions on certain topics that they've lost their ability to think about the whole picture.
Yeah.
And if you're not their way, you can't even have a conversation with people.
Yep.
And it's just making these barriers that it's just dividing and dividing and dividing. And so I think that is easily the worst situation we have moving forward, because it's only getting a bigger bridge between
Yeah.
everybody.
I mean, that's one of the driving factors of me starting this podcast. Not just that I thought everyone was interesting, but that is one of them. Who's down there?
My daughter just popped down here.
She can hop on if you want her face on. That's
You want to say
fine.
hi?
This is a small town deal here, so I can't.
Can you say hi?
Hey, Avery, good to see you.
All right, going upstairs. She just wanted to stop and say hello.
Oh, that's cool. That is good. We'll leave that in there. And the notes I sent you and what I tell other people is like, yeah, here's my theory. Everybody's interesting, got a story to tell. We've forgotten how to communicate a little bit. It seems like there came a point where it's battle lines drawn if we disagree, and it never used to be that way. Not that I remember, and I'm sure even the older people than us, they remember. Sometimes you didn't even know how people aligned politically. It didn't matter. You voted the way you voted. That's fine. But now, yeah. And to be honest, I don't like throwing shade, but I will say it's what we see our politicians and stuff doing in the open public. The lack of respect for people anymore. If you vilify people who disagree with you, that's just going to that's fuel for the fire.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
I mean, they
bad.
see what changes the needle politically, and they obviously have to piggyback off that. And so they're seeing it just like we are, of this divide. And I mean, you and I could agree on 99 topics out of 100, and if they find out that one topic we don't agree on is a certain political topic or the person that you voted for,
yeah,
all the other 99 things are forgotten.
Doesn't matter.
And it's I grew up in I was born in 85. So
Okay.
I remember in the 90s, that wasn't a thing.
No.
You talked to people, and if you disagreed, you navigated through it. You still had a good conversation at the end. And it's a bummer to see that we're losing that ability.
Right. No, I agree. Good choice for sure. Okay, let's end on a positive. One thing you're looking forward to this year?
I'm definitely looking forward to our first ever trip to Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
We are there's 3 couples going. We're staying on the Big Island, and then me and 2 of my friends, we're for 4 of the 10 days, we're taking an island hopper plane to Molokai. I'm not sure if I'm saying it exact, but we get to go hunt axis deer while we're there. And
wow.
I've been at the company I'm at 16 years. Up until last year, I never took more than a long weekend vacation away from work. I just never did it. So for the first 14 years of my career. So I'm looking forward to being able to take a long vacation.
There's the difference. Okay. Not putting you down or raising myself up, but a guy who worked the floor at 2 different factories, I would have to have 2 vacations every year. One in the summer, I need a week. You got to get me out of the shop. And then one for first season shotgun. Give me that whole week. That's it. And then usually we'd have a shutdown around Christmas, and I'm good. I don't know how you could go no vacation like that other than a long weekend.
Well, and I mean, I was really good at doing a lot in 3 or 4 days. So I take a Thursday, Friday.
You do.
We do a lot, and I'm used to, all right, we got an agenda, and we're doing a lot of these things. And I had the ability, I could have taken trips, but I was so focused on, I wanted to make sure that my area of the business was running so well that I didn't want to be that guy. Well, why is this all being terrible and Brandon's off on vacation? So it just took me that long to realize I can go on these vacations, and things will be fine.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy it, man. It sounds like a blast. My question is, what happens if you get one of those deer?
So we plan on getting a few deer.
I like it.
So, I mean, they are abundant on both Maui and Molokai. So people that do go, a lot of people don't even know they exist. One, they're a beautiful animal, beautiful scenery, and they're abundant. So we've already pre-ordered and sent coolers to the ranch that we're going to. So they're all free range, but there's multiple guides or outfitters that you can go through. So we each pre-sent 100-quart cooler, because a full-sized axis deer, I'll say a buck, is roughly the size of an Iowa doe.
Okay.
And then a doe is probably like the size of a yearling. not very big. So
Yeah.
they're not huge, right? So our goal, I can take $1 and two doe, and they want you to take the two doe first because it is a population exploding.
Okay.
So they want you
Okay.
to, it's obviously not 100% success rate. So whatever we shoot, we'll process it ourselves there at the camp and vacuum seal it all up and freeze it. And then the day that we leave Hawaii to come back home, the outfitter will take that sealed up cooler and ship it back to us. So when we get back, there will be the day after we arrive home, our coolers will show up with the meat.
With
And
like
then
dry ice or what?
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Wow. So
So
they've got it. They've got it figured out.
they've
They
got
they
it figured
know
out.
that's what you need to do, and they'll get it back to you fresh.
Yep. And supposedly, I've never had it. Axis deer is one of the best tasting wild game animals in the world. It's
Really? Okay.
phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to it. I was gonna say we're even taking a thing to cook out there, and I've got a few recipes from Stephen Ornella's Meat Eater episode that we're gonna, when I talked about the 1% thing earlier, it's like
Yep.
I want to have this meal made on this mountaintop in Hawaii with the
Oh,
axis deer that we got. So
look at this
that's
guy. Dang. And if you follow him on Snapchat, you'll probably get to see it. So
I'll share it all.
awesome. I love it. What are they free ranging on? What makes them taste so good?
I know there's natural forbs and other grasses there that's they don't, there's not like sage, and they don't have ag crops like corn and
Okay.
soybeans like we do in Iowa. But I don't know all the species of what their main diet is, but I know they're just highly rated as one of the best eaten venison
Okay.
type meats you can have. So it's like once I knew that, I knew, there was two options for me: go to Texas and hunt a high fence ranch, which I not knocking people that do it, because everybody,
Right.
whatever your passion is, more power to you, and I hope you enjoy doing it. But that just doesn't do anything for me. So the other option was go to Hawaii, and I thought, well, if we want to take a trip someday, maybe I can pair it. So,
Yeah.
two birds with a stone here.
I like it. Sounds like a blast. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Final segment, the What Is Up segment. You got some pretty cool topics to talk about. We got some time left here. Let's start off just a little bit lighter. You said you're an Iowa Hawkeyes football fan. Give me your take. I used to have a segment choice that was Iowa. It was just Iowa football drama, like Caden Proctor coming back and then leaving right away, or just the offense over the last few years, and so that was primarily just a chance for people to vent. But you just chose Iowa Hawks football. Like, just give me a few minutes on that. What is up with the Iowa Hawks football team?
I mean, I'm obviously a diehard Hawkeye fan, but I also have we talked about situational awareness earlier. I'm seeing all these other programs that are adapting and changing to the new ways of football and are being competitive, not just in our conference, because I think Iowa, we breed NFL talent, hardworking kids. We elevate no star up to 3-star players that become wanted in the end.
Yep.
But with the passive defensive first mentality, we're never going. I say never. There are times once a decade where you compete, but when we get to the Big Ten championship, where we're playing the fifth, top 5 ranked Ohio State, we got our 8 wins. We're not going to be winning those high knock them out, score 50-point games like Oregon brought to the Big Ten that they do with their high flying offense. So as much as I love Iowa, and I've been the biggest advocate, I'll debate anybody about anything at any time just because I enjoy doing it. And I've been an advocate for Kirk Ferentz, and that he has earned the long leash that most other coaches would not get. But at some point in time, that leash has to run out, and it's just negligence. And I think his son situation put me over the top with that worked itself out. But that was just the biggest show of negligence to me, and it made it hard to I knew Iowa was not going to compete in those big games. And I want to see Iowa get to the point where 8 wins is not our good season. I want to be competing for the playoffs. Look at what Iowa State did with less at the time when they started.
Yep.
They got a fresh-minded coach in Matt Campbell that's present, can relate to the kids, fun atmosphere, and he's elevated that program. The basketball team has followed suit.
Yeah.
I think Iowa is just stagnant on coaches. I'm excited for the Iowa basketball coach to come in from Drake. I think there's going
Yeah.
to be a fresh mindset and elevate that. It's going to be watchable again. We had mentioned that Caitlin Clark was a topic, but it's not good when the most exciting thing that happens in Iowa sports, nobody cared about the men's basketball team, and Iowa football was just average. Thank goodness we had Caitlin Clark in Iowa basketball because it gave us something exciting to watch. So
Yes. Yeah.
love
No,
Iowa, but I hope we can continue to refresh our mindset to get with 2025 and beyond, and compete with the big guys.
I hear you. It's what are you happy with? Yes, we crank out some of the better offensive linemen. We'll always crank out the best tight ends, and we'll crank out some pretty good defensive stars as
Oh,
well.
I love seeing Cooper DeJean excel. That is
Right.
hard
But
earning, well deserved
yeah,
accolades for him.
but at some point you're in it to get farther and farther every year, and we know we're not. So yeah,
Yep.
hopefully those things change. That was definitely a good way to start the segment here. Okay. You chose a few more. So let me ask you, what is up with AI? I don't think anybody's talked about it on the podcast. I've tried to get educated on it a little bit. What's your take on it? Good, bad, otherwise? What do you think?
I will say that I straddle the fence on the good and bad. I'm seeing the good in manufacturing
Sure.
and our business. I was just out in Oklahoma City for a defense conference and how AI is being used in forecasting future models for what's needed for the spending, the military defense, what's needed. They're using AI rapidly for that.
Okay.
You're going to start to see a lot more AI being used in at-home checks for medical, so you don't have to go
Yeah.
in person as much. AI is a phenomenal tool when used correctly. And where I straddle the fence is, I think what mostly we're going to see on social media is going to be AI used in the negative direction of plagiarism of people's proprietary information
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
casting people in a bad light because it's going to get so good that it's hard to distinguish real from AI.
Right.
And there's going to be, especially with the politics of it, they're going to start using AI for people can't tell the difference between an AI video and what's real, and then they take that as real. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that aspect I'm scared of. I think there's going to be people's lives that potentially are almost ruined from things that's outside of their control.
Right.
So overall, I straddle on the good side because I get to see how it's making us more efficient and rapidly advance, but I'm also cautious on the other side.
And some of the big tech guys, Elon and those guys, that what was it, a couple of years ago, there was the big push, we got to slow down. We got to slow down this thing. We got to put some guardrails up or something. And I didn't understand it at the time. It was still kind of a new term. I didn't understand it, but now you kind of see what they meant. There is a danger to it for sure. So we got to get it reined in. So I just had this wild idea come to my head, and if all this manufactured artificial stuff is going to end up flooding social media to the point where it's dangerous, and we're talking about stuff with kids and different things, then eventually maybe social media just gets shut down because it's no longer safe, and the government has to step in. And I've been saying this for a while. I've been saying I think in order to positively move forward in our country, we maybe need to just go back a little bit. You talked about communication and social skills in the younger. Maybe we need to go back to the 90s when that stuff wasn't around just yet until we can figure out a better way to do it. That's just the get off my lawn guy coming out in me, I guess. But I see what you're
I can
saying.
appreciate it.
You see the good, the positive side of it, but there is a dangerous side to it as well. So, okay. Let's go to another hot button one here. It's not so much now, but boy, I tell you, right up until a few weeks ago, DOGE was just the hot topic every day, dominating the news cycle. I want your opinion on it because it's interesting. Growing up, when we were kids, if we were 80s and 90s kids, I can remember, not that we were into politics, I'm sure, but you would hear certain leaders talking about balancing the budget, balancing the budget. And then it seemed like there were years no one ever talked about it. And now all of a sudden that they try and do something about it with this Department of Government Efficiency, it became just a travesty to one side and a savior to the other side. So what's your take on DOGE?
Yeah, going at it from a non left or right opinion, I think there should be checks and balances for every public office and spending and situation that's out there. It's our money. It's
Yeah.
going to. And there was a lot of there was money laundering everywhere you can think of. And if it wasn't if it wasn't a Trump or Elon backed situation, I think that it could have got a lot even more traction to be a successful public
Oh.
eye
Mm-hmm.
eye thing. But I'm being affected by it currently. There's a couple programs that I was in through that advocacy that got cut because it was considered wasteful spending on. So I was going to go out to there's a mentorship protege program a small business can get in where they partner with the Boeings or Raytheons or these big companies,
Yeah.
and they basically work with small businesses to elevate you to become a really good supplier. And it's kind of like being an apprentice, and it's all funded via the government. That got cut because it was considered wasteful spending. So I always tell
Wow.
people I'm being affected by it firsthand, but I know big picture. A lot of these channels that are being cut weren't helping where the general public thought they were helping. It was
Yeah.
more up front, and I've seen the back end of it, so I see it happening. So for me, I love checks and balances. I think everybody should have checks and balance. I even hold my employees to a status of, hey, hold me in check. We have
Yep.
processes in place in the business. If you see me skirting through it, let me know. I want, everybody should have it. So
I like that you mentioned that because that's always my point is you as a business owner or us as dads, with a household income, we don't get to run in the negative for too long. If we overextend ourselves, somebody's going to come knocking and saying, "Hey, you owe. You're late. You whatever." I don't ever want to hear the government tell me how to manage my money. You know what I mean?
yep,
We're
yep,
obviously we know better than the government how to handle money. All I have is a home mortgage. That's it. And if we can get that paid off in 10 years, we have zero debt. So I don't want to hear
that's
anybody from Washington telling me anything. And I have no degree. My wife has no degree. And we just worked our way up little by little, blue
that's
collar
awesome.
job. That's it. Manufacturing. That to me, that's part of the other thing. That's a rabbit hole we don't need to go down. But for years, our generation was told college degree or you're a failure. And I've talked to enough people at different high schools, and that has been the message. No longer did anyone think, a fraction of people think you can go into a factory, innovative and say, I can make a household wage here, provide for my family, maybe do something else on the side or with my wife working, and we could have a great life. They're told you got to go get that degree. And that's just not the case. We need machinists. We need electricians. We need plumbers. We need all these different things. I mean, it takes everybody. And I think they're starting to get back to that. But somehow I don't know how I got on that track. But yeah, definitely DOGE was kind of a good thing because we have to operate on a balanced budget. Why shouldn't they? So get
Yeah,
cracking.
yeah, it's expanding out of control faster and faster. So it's time to reel it in. And I agree wholehearted with you that you don't need a college education to go far in life. I would like my daughter to go to college more from a experience life and do
Sure.
that, but
Sure.
I also would encourage her to go into a trade or, and I don't want to go down a tangent and a rabbit hole. So, but at my the student teacher conference with her teacher, and I'm happy to report, she excels at all the learning stuff. And all I
Sure.
told the teacher is, I just want to know, is she a good kid? And does she include everybody in what she does? If she
Yeah.
does that, you can talk to my wife about her student grades and all that. But I just want to know if she's not a good person and if she doesn't
Yep.
include people. And I think kids nowadays, if you can have situational awareness and be a good person and drive towards something, you don't need college to get you anywhere.
Sure. Sure.
People, especially nowadays, it's hard to find good qualified people that want to show up on time and actually work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and yeah. So, anyways, rabbit
Oh,
hole diverted.
I know we could have had a whole episode just on that side of things, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep moving. I think we're able to get all these in here. Okay. We're not trying to dredge up the past, people, but remember this is the What Is Up podcast. There is no subject off topic. Like you can talk about anything as long as we can do it in the right manner. But I know this could trigger people. It triggers a lot of bad memories for me. What is up with vaccine mandates and all the stuff that goes with them? I think my whole title for that is vaccine mandates that have possible risks and side effects, and then punishing nurses and military for noncompliance. That's my whole heading, and you chose that one because that was just a crazy time, dude. Nurses
Yeah.
went from heroes to being out of a job if they didn't take the experimental vaccine. Military, same thing. When they signed up for every vaccine that was there. They had to take it, but then they bring this new one in, and they were done if they wouldn't take it. And it's just the whole vaccine mandate thing. What's up with it in your mind?
I I like to think that everything I do and the path I've chosen, I rarely have any regrets in my life. And I just talked to somebody about the other day that I got the vaccine.
Okay.
I think I got two of them,
Yep.
and it's one of the few things looking back on it that I truly deeply regret. And
Regret.
and I've always been the type of person, if I'm not an expert in it, and there are people that are experts in it, I listen to the experts. And not that I just blindly put, okay, I'll do
Sure.
that. But if a doctor tells me to do something, they're the expert. And so back when this whole division was happening and vaccines and not vaccines, there was a few of my employees that they were uncomfortable with the whole situation and wanted to be around. They didn't want to come to work if not everybody was vaccinated. And at the time I was under the doctors are telling me that this is okay.
Yep.
I didn't go down the rabbit hole of I did some research from an investment standpoint in certain companies and things like that, but I wasn't reading the medical documents of the research process for what went into it.
Mhm.
I was being told by experts to do this. I wasn't going to be divisive. It would have made my coworker, my employees more comfortable. So I went and got it.
Sure.
And I didn't think too much of it. And looking back on it, there became this persona of where it was like us versus them or them versus us.
Yep.
And
Yep.
or like wearing a mask out in public once they took the mask mandates down.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point where it was no longer about critical thinking. Even with that, it was,
Yes.
again, it was the political, well, if you're not wearing it, you got to be going down this path,
Yep.
and if you are wearing it, and it's and I think that it always goes back to that political divisive
Yeah.
that we're in.
Yeah.
But I just hate the public shaming of somebody making their decision for their life going one way or the other. And now all of a sudden it's our social media responsibility to lash out at everybody who doesn't have the same beliefs that they have.
Yeah.
And so I don't like, it's one of the few things where my wife and I'm happy to say, and not from a bragging standpoint, but I'm happy to say in 20 years of being together, we've literally had one argument. One, not
That's good. That's good.
one. And we're both, if there's something to talk about, we talk about it. So it never gets to the point where there could be an argument.
Sure.
And we're both okay if you have difference of opinions. So but I pretty much stood my ground. By the time my daughter was old enough, we were a little ways past that vaccine situation. And there was now, I'm a statistical guy. There was statistics coming out of what this vaccine was causing in people. And so I just said, hey, I know my daughter's okay if she doesn't get it and gets all, the other proven ones. And so
Yeah.
I stood firm on that's not going in my daughter
Yep.
until there's more science and data that's not politically driven. And so we navigated that. But I don't think mandates should be on anybody. It's going in your body. You should get to choose what goes in your body.
I like
And
it.
if you choose to do something or not do something and you can't go somewhere because of that decision, then you're also choosing to understand
Yeah.
the results from that.
The
And so
repercussions of it.
yeah. And so that's kind of my opinion on a lot of things in that
I
area.
like it. I like it. I'll tell you how it went for me. I was working part-time also as a maintenance guy at that assisted living center where my wife worked. And I researched the mRNA and I listened to a couple other like pastors and Christian talk shows and stuff that I listened to, and they would have doctors on. So I was pretty sure that, okay, the only one I would take would be Moderna because they guaranteed that the way they developed it didn't use any cells from aborted babies and things like that, because I think that's wrong. But
Yep.
so I didn't sign up for it, and my wife and kids, we definitely knew they weren't going to get it. So then I'm at work one day, and someone who had signed up for it, because, frontline workers, they get first crack at it. Well, someone had signed up for it at the assisted living and then didn't show up. And so I was there fixing something, and they asked if I would take it because they were like been out of shape. We don't waste these things. They eventually are going to make it out to the public and all this. And I had done my research, and the final thing came down to me that, okay, I'm going to work 2 jobs, back and forth. I'm coming into this nursing home, and I'm going out in like, I am putting these people at risk. So I will, like you said, I want to hear from the experts. I wanted to hear from Fauci. I wanted to hear from Birx. Don't put Trump out there. Don't put anybody else out there. Let me hear from the doctors. And I had
Yep.
heard enough based on, if you get it, you won't spread, or at first you won't get it. Then it turned into, you'll get it, but you won't spread it. And then that wasn't true. And then just all the stuff about it just turned out to be, no one really knew anything. It wasn't near as effective as they tried to make it out to be. And I took it, the first 2, just because I was like, I just don't want to lose faith in the experts in the medical
Yep.
field. I don't want, so I'm okay with taking it. And like you, yeah, I kind of regret it now. It was totally unnecessary for me. It didn't live up to anything that they said it was going to. The people at risk are the ones that probably had a more higher probability of a need for taking it. The rest of
Yeah.
us,
And it happened so fast
it
that
did. You
I
didn't
wish
know
there
what to
was.
believe.
Yeah. And just like the wearing a mask, I didn't care if anybody wore a mask around me or didn't wear a mask around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about the other people around me. So if I had a cough or if I wasn't feeling well, I wouldn't go around elderly people or people that are at
Yeah.
risk, just
Yeah.
like I wouldn't do if I had the flu also. So
Yep. Yep.
I yeah, I don't know. I think it just happened so fast that there was no time to have those results. So
No.
if we would have fast forward 3 to 4 months after that, my decision would have been. I also took Moderna for the same reasons that you did.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but I definitely would have made a different decision, and I would have stood my ground more on it. But at the
Sure.
time,
Sure.
I was thinking of other people and
Yeah. Yep.
chose that route.
It is what it is. It's in the past now. My question is this, since we were both in, metal shop world, you in the office, I was still on the floor. When the day came where they told me the mask thing is getting stricter to where we had to wear masks in, had to get temperature checked. But then once we got to our jobs, if we were by ourselves, which I was, we could unmask and everything, which is common sense. Then the day came where they said, we're about to implement mask the full 8 hours, take it off at break time, whatever, that's it. And they started putting up plexiglass. And so I said that's the drawing line for me, because now you're asking me to do something that makes no sense. I'm by myself at my machine. No one's within 20 feet of me. And you're telling me I'm going to wear a mask. I told him, I said, you better get the president of the company who works at the building. I was like, you better have him come out here and talk to me, because I'm probably going to have a problem with that. You're telling me to do something that makes no sense. And he did come out, and we didn't get to that point, but I would have had to have left or seriously considered leaving, because that's dangerous when you implement something on somebody and it makes no sense to do it. And yet you're telling them they have to follow it. Boy, you're starting to live in a dangerous world at that point. So very, very, very weird. So
the only thing that we mandated, we never had made anybody wear masks unless if they were showing symptoms of possibly getting sick. We mandated to take a COVID test.
Yep.
And then if they weren't positive, then we still had them masked for while they were sick, and would have them in areas that wouldn't engage with other people.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was just, we're not mandating it. If it's uncomfortable to you,
sure.
Sorry.
So did you guys do the thing? If they were sick, you wanted them just to stay home?
Yes.
Tell them don't even come, and they found out you got a nice little bonus if you did that.
Yeah.
You got a little.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's a smaller, at the time, we probably only had 12 employees. So it's not like it's this, because we did, as the last handful of years, we grew our business mostly in automation. So as our company doubled, we only probably grew the employees by 4 people, because we fully automated it.
More automation. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we didn't ever have to go down that. And I handled a lot of the HR duties in the company too. So,
that's the worst time to be an HR guy.
Yeah, it was interesting, but we navigated through. Again, common sense and level heads prevail, and we were able to figure everything out.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Let's go to the last one, because we could talk about that and the effects on industry forever, because we're we've built a 2-year backlog in the ambulance industry, and
Yep,
we're trying to dig our way out of it. And but we're a privately owned, employee owned company, so the fact that we didn't close down, our employee shares, the value has just skyrocketed because we
that's
made it
awesome.
through 2020, and so it's been a real benefit. But okay, let's go to the last one, one that's super big right now, probably the one of the most hot button issues in the country right now, and that is the southern border crisis that was, and our immigration laws and things like that. What is up with that, in your opinion?
Very scary situation is my opinion on it. It was a hot topic at the defense conference I was just at it, and there was a
Okay.
lot of statistics shared. There is people in the United States right now that don't have good intentions for our future.
Yeah.
And I just I don't get into politics hardly ever on social media because again, I'm more of a face to face, let's talk about
Yep.
it, because
Yep.
very rarely does it go well. But I just talked about it the other day that I am 1000% behind the stricter immigration laws that are happening now. There's plenty of legal ways to get in the United States,
Yeah.
and you're vetted.
Yeah.
And for me and my daughter's future in this country, to have people that don't have the best interest of our country able to walk across our border that weren't vetted is extremely scary to me. And it makes me worry of going to big public events in the future. And I don't
Yeah.
want to have my child worry about, I want her to have the same upbringing that I had, go enjoy outdoor concerts and football. And we're not going to live our life in fear and not enjoy those because,
Sure.
you know, we're going to live, but I love all people. And
Right.
I think everybody deserves the respect and attention from no matter what country you're from. But I think that the America First situation that's happening now, I couldn't be happier that America First is the top of mind.
Yeah.
And there's we're still the land of great opportunity,
Yeah.
and there's plenty checks and balances of ways for you to get here, get through the process, and become a citizen. And that just like the DOGE situation, there should be checks and balances on that. I'm thankful that it's a priority and happening.
I I love it. Two things can be true at once, and what we see out there would argue against that, and that's what you're saying. We want the. I even want the the green cards, the temporary, the seasonal work. I understand how all that works in the South. I understand what they do, and I understand that the wages they earn are tenfold what they could get unless they're working with the cartels, across the border. So let them come on their seasonal basis. But like you said, we know who they are. We know social security numbers. We know this is how long they're going to be here. We understand if you want to be an actual citizen. Immigration used to not be a hot button issue. Every president, all the way back to, Clinton and Obama and all that, they weren't for illegal immigration. You can find the footage of them saying that. It's never been a controversial thing. It became a crisis when everything kind of got opened up and we weren't vetting people.
Yeah.
We're just letting everybody claim asylum. Well, then I agree with the people who say, well, we need to fix the system. We do. We need to quickly determine who these people are. Are they a threat? Are they actually claiming asylum? And we need to get them processed and whatever. But what we did was open it up. Come on in. We'll put you on a bus. We'll give you some money. We'll do all this. And now, like you said, there are people, if you're talking with defense companies and they're saying the quiet stuff, that, hey, there are people who came here with bad intentions, not looking for opportunity, like all the immigrants we read about in history, the Italians on Ellis Island and all this. Immigration has meant you come here, you assimilate. And a lot of the legal immigrants, that is what they've done, and they love it, and they don't like what they saw. So
Yep.
two things can be true at once. Immigration is great. Illegal immigration, no, we're not for it. Never going to be for it. But
Yep.
you have a
Thousand
heart for
percent.
people. So yeah, I don't think it's that hard of an issue to find your way
No.
through it
And
properly.
I think statistics, I mean, you look back at even previous presidencies, yeah, the system is broken, but the deportation numbers, there was still more people being deported on previous presidencies
Yeah.
than Trump has done now.
Yep.
But again, it's that if it's not the person that I want it to be, I can't agree. And it goes both ways. I know
Yeah.
plenty of
Yep.
it's just certain sides louder than the others on right now, and
Yeah.
but it again it's just becoming more public on fixing the problem versus it just being a quiet statistic that is happening. And
Yeah.
I'm all for it. make America a priority to get it back again with checks and balances.
Sure. The healthier and stronger we are, the more we can do to help everyone else. But we clearly need to focus on us for a little bit right now. Get some stuff under control, get some checks and balances. So
absolutely, we need immigration. A lot of the people that come over that do it through the checks and the correct process, they have high wherewithal, intelligent, forward thinking, innovations. I love it, but I also it worries me on what the last 36 months or so was on coming across the border.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Man, that was good. We ran through like 4 serious topics pretty quickly, but that's what happens when you're not dramatic about things. You speak your opinion, you speak what facts you know of, and all right, Brandon, I got to thank you for coming on, man. This was great. We navigated some what people would consider hot button issues, and it was just, I think we gave a master class. Is that what they call it? We gave a master class on how to navigate through hot button issues without being all dramatic, stating your opinion, stuff like that. That's one of the main reasons I started this podcast. So it went really well. One last time, where can people go to follow you and Trophy Bucks of Iowa, maybe score some merch, stuff like that?
So Facebook, Instagram, Trophy Bucks of Iowa, and Trophy Bucks of IA on Snapchat. Follow along. You'll see if you like lots of food, snacks, and adventures.
And a website?
You can just Google Trophy Bucks of Iowa and it'll pull up as well. And there's a lot of merch and food plot seed and things like that. On the website, we don't share all the pictures like we do on social media.
Yeah. And if you guys are down in that area, in the Des Moines area for the Deer Classic, they're always set up big, huge presence there, always doing something good there too, a giveaway for veterans or whatever it may be. So definitely follow them, check that out, support them. It's pretty cool. Or if you're a golfer, like we talked about in part 1, get into that Cabin Fever golf tournament for charity. I'm not a golfer, so that's not me. But as we wrap up, I don't know why this thought just popped into my head, but I can remember when I started this podcast, for some reason, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just getting started. I didn't understand social media. And I think I reached out to you and sent you some information about the podcast. And I think I was just asking you if you liked it to share it because of your following, because you had such a big following with Trophy Bucks of Iowa. Not even thinking, you stupid idiot, why not invite him to be on it? So here we are 2 years later. Now it's built up a little bit. And I'm just thinking, you probably thought I was an idiot. Why? I think you said something really nice, like, hey, yeah, like good luck with the venture. I like the initiative. Yeah, people need to talk. But you could tell I hadn't extended an invitation to come on. I just was like asking you to share it, which is like super selfish.
I get it. We get weekly people looking out, but I appreciated a lot of people have ideas and want to take on ventures like this. And the hardest part is starting and taking that first step. So I always appreciate seeing somebody take on something like this because that's the hardest part.
That's
starting
right.
And staying with it.
That's right. I'd say if I feel like the Lord put it on my heart, it's the wrong choice not to do it or not to go down whatever road it is. So you just got to do it. That's the way to do it. Okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. Some really good discussion, man. I'm sure you encouraged our audience with your episode and everything that you shared. Hopefully it got people thinking a little bit about what is up with whatever, whatever those topics were or about life, So to my audience, have you guys caught yourself looking around anytime in the last, say, 5 years? Maybe longer, but at least in the last 5 years, looking around at some of the craziness and saying like, what is up with some of this stuff? It got pretty crazy and we covered a few of them. So like what happened with our immigration crisis? How did it happen? We're firing people for not taking the experimental vaccine like we talked about. Remember the whole, you won't get COVID if you're vaccinated, or I guess we covered all this already, but here it's in my closing. Or how about the whole ivermectin is just horse dewormer, and now it's on the National Institute of Health as has great results for a treatment for COVID-19. Yet people were raked over the coals for using it as a treatment back then. It was just crazy, man. How does stuff like that happen? How do we get to the point where it gets that wild?
Too reactive, forced down a path.
That's right. My opinion is, man, if you're asking why are things the way they are, if you want real truth instead of just man's opinions that you can never trust, we're all imperfect. So I say the answers can't be found down here. I say we got to look up. I say we look to God and his word, and he truly will show us what is up. That's been my experience. I still think the Bible gives the best answers and explanations for why the world that we see around us is the way it is and why we are the way we are sometimes. It makes perfect sense when I read what's in the Bible. So if you want to know more, you can join me any Sunday at First Baptist Church in Dunkerton or online on our Facebook page. We're just a small town church, nothing fancy, but you'll hear some truth in there, I promise you. Or you can email me directly, whatisuppodcast@gmail.com, and I will personally share the gospel with you so you can know for sure that God is real, that he loves you, and he wants a relationship with you. Yes, even you, who's ever listening, it doesn't matter. And spoiler alert, you don't have to agree with me or believe the same thing I do to come on this podcast or listen. Hopefully you found it encouraging and entertaining as well. But know that God does want a relationship with you, no matter who you are, what you've done, what you're doing, what you're in the middle of right now that maybe you're a little ashamed of. We all got stuff that we aren't proud of, all of us. He wants a relationship with you. That's actually why we were created. But we got to choose him. It doesn't go the other way. That's where all the real hope and joy and peace, Brandon says he's the eternal optimist. Guys, I'm telling you, the real lasting hope, joy, and peace, the best things in life, that's where it comes from, a relationship with the Lord. If you haven't figured it out by now, there's absolutely nothing on this earth that you can totally be satisfied with or will completely fulfill you permanently. It won't. Everything down here is temporary. There's nothing else you can put your hope in. There is no other person. There's no philosophy, no government, no president, no podcaster, no entrepreneur, no small business owner, no teacher or preacher. Everyone's going to let you down at some point. We got to look up. So if you're listening or watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to follow, leave a 5-star review and a comment. That would help a lot. Then let your opinion be heard by answering our poll question. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and leave a comment there. But leave a positive one. Those negative ones, they hurt sometimes. But if you want to leave it, go ahead. That's fine. I welcome feedback, questions, comments, even criticism. So help me hit my goal this year by doubling all my subscribers and followers. Share it with everyone you know. We've already reached a couple of those goals and doubled them, but we got a little bit more work to do yet. So that's all I ask, guys. So for me and my guest today, Brandon Dahms, thank you very much for listening. We hope it really encouraged you, enlightened you, and hopefully even challenged you a little bit, challenged you to think, be proactive. Lord willing, I'll talk to you on the next one.
I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun, and I look forward to watching this back.
All right, buddy. Thanks.